Louisville. Let's talk elevator pitch on Louisville right now. Last year, 8-4, 5-3 in ACC play. This year's over/under win total set at 8.5 for Jeff Brohm and the boys. I like the number. I like Louisville to have a pretty solid season. Remember, I have Louisville at 10-2, but 6-2 in ACC play. What's the elevator pitch on the Cards? I think Tyler Shuck shined last season.
Right.
Brohm showed that he's a great quarterbacks coach. Now he's going to start for the New Orleans Saints. I don't think that was on many people's bingo card, but it's real. You bring in Miller Moss from USC. At Miller Moss's best, we saw flashes of brilliance, particularly some of the plays that he made in that LSU season opener in Vegas last year. You saw him score 6 touchdowns in the 2023 Holiday Bowl. You know, there are flashes in the pan for Miller Moss. Can he put it all together? I think he has the perfect coach to help him do that. That being said, Lincoln Riley's a quarterback guru as well.
Right.
So there's two sides to every coin, and every situation is different. I love what they have in Chris Bell and Colin Lacey in the wide receiver room. In their running back room, I think it's the best running back room in the ACC. Isaac Brown, ACC Rookie of the Year last year, had over 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns. And then you got Duke Watson. It's a great 1-2 punch. They complement each other very well. Their defense, strong at linebacker. They have a lot returning on the defensive side of the ball in the linebacker spot, but they lost a lot in the secondary. So curious to see how all that plays out. Fairly difficult schedule. They have the luxury that Miami does with 8 home games, 4 road games. I think that's preposterous. I've always grown up with 6-6. Maybe a neutral site game against Notre Dame at like Yankee Stadium or something. But
exactly.
I'm pretty used to 6-6, but they have 8 home, 4 away. I think it's going to come down to, for Louisville, can the defense hold its weight? Because I think you're looking at one of the more prolific offenses in the ACC.
Yeah, honestly, when I think of Louisville in a nutshell, it's just electrifying offense. I think Miller Moss is probably the best quarterback they've had since Lamar Jackson. That's nothing against what Tyler Shuck did last year. Obviously, he was great and he flashed a lot of upside, especially as a pro prospect. But Miller Moss, like you said, brings some really, really high level production from his time at USC. I mean, in a lot of big spots as well. Like last year, he dazzled against a team like Michigan, and he played really well in a lot of their Big Ten games. Like he held his own against Penn State as well. USC easily could have won each of those games, but their defense wound up blowing it late both times. So I'm really high on Miller Moss. I think that was a great addition for them. I'm glad you mentioned Chris Bell, because last year, obviously, they had Ja'Cory Brooks come in from Alabama, and he was Shuck's #1 target. And he was very, very prolific statistically. A lot of people forget what Ja'Cory Brooks brought to that Louisville offense last year. Now Chris Bell takes the step up and becomes their wide receiver 1. If him and Miller Moss are able to connect like this, their pass game can be electrifying, because like you said, that running back duo of Brown and Watson is going to keep defenses honest. If Miller Moss and Chris Bell can take the top off of defenses in the ACC, they could have the #1 passing offense in the league, even with, Clemson having all the talent that they do as well. So when I think of Louisville, it's really offense. I think they have a chance to be the best offense in the league. It wouldn't shock me if that's the case. And that's definitely good enough to get them in the top 5. And if they're able to win some of these big games against the bigger opponents on their schedule, they could be wind up playing for the ACC championship.
Real quick, let's peek at that Louisville schedule here. Eastern Kentucky to start. James Madison, that's an interesting one that they're going to play in Louisville. Bowling Green, they go to Pittsburgh. They get Virginia at home. You don't love that they have 2 byes in, the first, 7 weeks of the season. Then you go at Miami, Boston College, at Virginia Tech, Cal, Clemson, at SMU. I mean, dude, this schedule is really not terrible outside of at Miami, at Virginia Tech. Okay. Clemson's going to be a tough one. At SMU is a tough one. I just think in the non-conference, it certainly could be a lot worse. The non-conference is not bad at all.
No, I think the conference schedule, you kind of get the epic highs and lows of the ACC. Like, you're like, oh man, we got to go to Miami. We got to host Clemson. Going to Virginia Tech's never easy. We got to go to SMU, who was undefeated in the conference last year. But then on the flip side, it's like, oh, a home game against Virginia, a home game against BC, a home game against Cal. So you have games that should be like shoe-in victories, but then these other games against the top dogs in the ACC could really go either way. They're going to need to win probably at least 2 of those games, whether again against Miami, Clemson, SMU, and Virginia Tech. I guess Virginia Tech and SMU are the easier ones there, but both of those are not easy places to play. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out in the second half of the season. All things considered, Louisville should be undefeated going into that game against Miami coming off their second bye week. I think that is really where we're going to learn, where does SMU, or rather Louisville, stand up against all these other top dogs in the ACC. It should be interesting to watch it play out.
By the way, I think Louisville has the best vibes and most underrated vibes, maybe not best, but underrated vibes of any college football program in the entire country. The Heisman logo at midfield, the Louisville
so
uniforms, there's not a bad combination in that equipment room. I mean, they had some serious
tricky.
aura.
Yeah,
and
they've
Lamar
got a nice
Jackson
stadium.
gave them a lot of that. Like just as far as when you had you can't have a Heisman logo at midfield unless you've had one. But when you've had a Heisman Trophy winner in the last 12 years, you can have that.
Yeah, and especially if it's Action Jackson, Mr. Lamar himself in the flesh. He's obviously big trust. Obviously, he brought so much juice to that program. If Miller Moss can bring that same type of juice in a different way, obviously nobody's Lamar Jackson. It's honestly stunning to look back and see what Lamar did with a roster that was pretty subpar. He's like the only NFL player on that offense. But I do think Louisville, between the drip and between the aura and between the vibes and between the offensive talent, they should be in for a very big 2025. Anything less than, I think, 8 wins would be a total disappointment based on the talent they have.
Couldn't agree with you more. What you know about Jamari Staples, though? That was a talented team. That was a good wide receiver.
they've got a good lineage of players, and like Ja'Cory Brooks could, for a guy who was only there for 1 year, could wind up being a solid player in the NFL. I mean, he was undrafted free agent, but could make an NFL roster and could listen. If you come from Alabama, you got to have talent. So I am going to miss the winged shoulder uniforms, though. That's for darn sure.